Are you just learning how to sew, but are really bored with just making tote bags and pillowcases and things that you just generally won't use? And you think you're ready to move on to something a little more fun? Well, I want to show you how to turn one simple pattern into many different looks that you can put into your wardrobe. Hey folks, welcome back. Now, fair warning, before we get into all of it, I'm not going to show you the actual construction today because I don't want this video to be a year long. But I am going to show you the pieces that I have made, and I'm going to talk about all the adaptations that I did to make them all a little bit different. So the base pattern that we're going to be using for all of this is the Boxwood hoodie from Mood Fabrics. This is a free pattern that only has about 5 pieces, and we're not going to be using that silly little pocket that they've got. We're actually going to be creating a better pocket for this. I like to think of myself as an efficient sewer, meaning that I like to be able to put things together as easily as possible. So using the same pattern over and over and over again means that I really only have to learn a few techniques to get something to look good, and then I can add new skills on as I feel comfortable. So that's what this whole video is about. And what's great about this Boxwood pattern is that it is very, very simple and therefore pretty easy to make some small changes, and all of the garments end up looking different. The other thing I really like is Mood patterns are pretty size inclusive. Chances are they're going to have a pattern that will fit you. The biggest important thing for this pattern is to make sure that it fits in the shoulders and across the bust. Those are the big things. Also, the Mood patterns typically end up fitting the way that you would expect based on the pictures that they provide. So overall, those are some real winning things for me, and probably the biggest reason why I use Mood fabric patterns in the first place. So if we break this garment into its pattern pieces, we end up with a front bodice, a back bodice, a sleeve pattern, and a hood pattern. I'm not going to use that silly little pocket that they have because that is just too small and too impractical for me. We're actually going to make our own hoodie pocket pattern piece from one of our own hoodies. I also added a simple collar pattern to this as well, and I stole that from another shirt that they've got on Mood Fabrics. You can use the hollyhock shirt patterns if you like that sweet little rounded edge collar, if that makes any sense. But pretty much any other collar would work just fine for this. The other thing to remember about all of these pattern pieces before we get started in looking at the finished garments is that all of them are meant to be cut on the fold. You have kind of half of a back bodice and you have half of a front bodice. The exception to this would be the sleeves and the hood. So I guess only 50% of these pieces, I don't know. But the sleeve and the hood, you just cut 2 of those. I think that is enough background information. So let's just start at the simplest possible place, using just the front bodice and the back bodice piece. So using just the front bodice and the back bodice and a little bit of bias tape, I made this pretty simple tank top. Kind of looks like a muscle shirt a little bit with a high-low hem. So it does have a little bit of a swoop in the back, which personally I think is pretty flattering for a lot of people. Very easy piece to put into a professional wardrobe. If I'd used maybe a knit fabric, something with a lot more stretch, then maybe it would look just a little bit more casual. Very easy, took me probably an hour, maybe an hour and a half to do. The bias tape is probably the hardest part. It's a very simple first timers project that now I've got a good staple to put into my wardrobe. So once we've made a tank top, it's pretty easy to move on to a vest. So for a vest, you just take that front bodice pattern and rather than cutting it on the fold, you just cut the fold away. Or you can cut these front pieces to be a little bit more decorative if your fabric maybe is a lace or has some scallopy edges. You can do that with a vest. And then I just did the same thing, bias tape around the edges for everything. And because I made this out of a quilt, it has a little bit different structure to it. So it doesn't hang quite as flowy, it just sits a little bit nicer. I do have some buttons on here. I'm not sure if I'm gonna put buttonholes or if I'm gonna do loops where I can loop this over the buttons just to provide a little bit more closure to it. We have a tank top, we have a vest. What about a hooded vest? So here is when I introduce my hoodie pocket, where I just cut half of a hoodie pocket for both sides. And then with the hood, I just add it, and now I've got a pretty cool beach cover up. I did the same thing on the sleeves, just used some bias tape there, and I cut out the same thing in 2 different fabrics and just sewed them together. So now it's reversible. I put the contrasting fabric as the pockets on each side, and you get something that looks completely different. What do you guys think about this one? What about something made out of an old beach towel as a beach cover-up? Big hood, half hoodie pockets, and check out the back detail. It's got a little fish at the bottom. It's so cute. Same thing, just bias tape around the arms. I haven't sewn it in yet, but bias tape here to cover up this raw edge and around the pockets. And so far, we've used 3 of our pattern pieces, and we have at least 3 different looks, if not 4. When you change the fabric that you use or the textile that you use, you get something that feels completely different, which is pretty dang cool. What could possibly be next? I think we need to add some sleeves. Quick change. This one is still a work in progress, but I wanted to show you what a vest looks like when we add sleeves. So for this, I used a half sleeve, so that I get a short sleeve, and just how I talked about before, this textile already had this scalloped bottom, so I went ahead and I utilized that here at the sleeve, and then I used the corner for both the vertical hem, I guess, as well as the one at the bottom. And I lined it up on the back. I do have a collar that I want to add to this, so it'll give it just a little bit of extra something, I guess. I mean, we have sleeves. We have a vest that has sleeves. Why not go full bore? Like, let's make something that probably intimidates a lot of new sewers. Let's do a jacket. A jacket is just a vest with sleeves. I added the collar, so just a really simple collar. Now, to finish the front pieces here, you can either bias tape like we've done before, or when you cut these front panels, add about, I don't know, 2 or 3 inches to that front, this part, the center part. Fold it over 2 or 3 times, and you give yourself a placket. So now, if I wanted to add buttons on here, or snaps, I could. Now, everything that I have done so far has been this kind of cropped length, and that's a little shorter than what the pattern calls for, but don't forget, you can add length and you can shorten things up. So if you wanted to add a little bit of extra length, what could we do? Well, I'm really glad you asked. Let me show you. So I used a woven blanket, I added my hood, and I added some length at the bottom. So take a look at this. Just by adding probably 5 or 6 inches, I get the jacket down past my hips, and I've created a completely new silhouette and a really cool jacket. Throw that hood on there, and we are set. We are ready to go. Any of my raw edges, I did add bias tape to it here. This one, I actually went fancy and I added it to the inside so that those didn't fray in the washing machine. And I have a pretty dang cool jacket too. This last one you may have seen in some of my other videos, but I am very proud of it. Let me show you that one. It's my quote coat, and I love it because it's amazing. And it's got drama, so much. Bias tape to the raw edges. I added a little bit of height to that collar piece. You keep the bottom edge of the collar exactly the same and just add a little bit of space at the top. Now I've got a really nice stand collar. Hoodie pockets. Got half of one over here, the other half over here. Bias tape down the front edge. I haven't put any closures in yet because I just haven't gotten to it yet. I mean, come on. And don't forget, this is all off of the same pattern. I haven't added anything new other than the hoodie pattern piece and the collar pattern piece, but I haven't shown you the actual hoodie, have I? Let me show you the actual hoodie. All right, it's a little Jedi, but you'll get the idea. So for this one, I am experimenting with 3/4 length sleeves rather than full length sleeves. Not sure how I feel about it, but they're okay. This is just as the pattern calls for. It's right at my hips. I put that nice big pocket on the front rather than the silly little one that they had here. And now I have a pretty cozy hoodie to add into my wardrobe, although I'm not real sure about the oatmeal color for me. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I've made that you might want to see. Maybe one more thing. Hold on. So it's another work in progress. Just keep that in mind. Collarless vest. Trying to figure out if I like this way of finishing the arms or if I want to try something maybe a little different over here. Let me show you the length. A little bit longer, and I kept the fringe at the bottom just so I didn't have to hem anything, and I kept the fringe along the front. So with this, the only thing I need to finish is the neck and the sleeves, and if I want to get super fancy, the inside edges. So that is it for this video. The intention was really just to show you how versatile one simple pattern from Mood can turn into a bunch of different things that probably wouldn't think were from the same pattern. The things that you will have to work on while going through this process. How to finish edges and hems. It's a great way to practice how to do bias tape. It's a great way to practice maybe some felled seams on the inside, just so you don't have raw edges on the inside. It is wonderful practice for setting sleeves. I will tell you, if you want to use blankets or towels, setting those sleeves is a lot easier than non-stretch fabrics like this that's a cotton linen blend. Even I am still struggling with setting these types of sleeves, but those stretchier fabrics, like butter. So if you are new to sewing, I encourage you to download this pattern. I would say maybe a size above where you think you should be, because you can always cut it a little bit smaller, but if you cut too small the first time, you have to reprint and tape the whole stupid thing back together again. So cut out the larger piece first, make a mock-up of it. Make it out of an old towel. Crop the bottom off of it and see if you like how the shoulders fit. See if you like how it fits around the bust. And then go from there. Crop things, elongate things. What happens if you take these sleeves and really make them super, super short? What would happen if you made the hoodie part a lot bigger? I've actually done an oversized hood for a lot of these things, and as somebody who wears ponytails all the time, having a lot of extra space back here in my hoods really makes a big difference. But take this one pattern and really experiment with not just the fit, but also the fabric. Cutting the front up the center so that you now have a vest or a shirt that you can pull on. Now you can practice putting on buttons. You can practice hooks and eyes, maybe loops or ties, different ways to close this. You can try snaps. Rather than trying to download pattern after pattern after pattern or cut out those paper patterns you get from Joann's, start with this one and try a bunch of adaptations for it. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I want to give a special shout out to my members over on my Ko-fi page. Because of you guys, I'm able to continue a lot of what I do here. Also, if you like fabrics, if you are getting started in sewing, I have a found fabric shop over there where in my thrifting and secondhand dead stock journeys, I gather things and I post it over there for sale, especially for folks that maybe don't have access to thrift stores like I do. I have some really great things over there right now, including the fabric that I used for my tank top that you saw at the very beginning. That fabric is wonderful. I've made pants with it and I love those pants so much. Hop over there, see if you find something you like. If you want to become a member, it is only $2 a month, and my members get first crack at all the things that I post. If you want to see it first before anybody else, $2 a month, and you get to see all that cool stuff. And if not, nothing else changes other than, my members also get their name on screen and thanks they're pretty great people. So anyway, that is it for this week. I hope you enjoyed it. I will see you guys next time. Don't forget to subscribe and all that jazz. Okay, bye.